episode of Binging With Gamechangers. Here we capture success from different perspectives. We delve into the minds of people with celebrated brands and careers who've turned their dreams to reality and their ideas to lucrative empires. I'm your host, Seyi Banigbe, and I cannot wait to unveil what this episode has for you. See you when I return. Welcome back to the show, and it's time to meet our first game changer. His name is Etop Ikpe. He's the founder of Nigeria's first and largest auto tech trading platform, Cars45.com. Cars45 is a technology company that has disrupted the used car sales industry. Cars45 enables Nigerians to sell and buy used cars in the most convenient way. He started the business in 2016, and within a year, he raised $5 million in a Series A funding round. The company now boasts of a staff strength of about 350 people. Guys, join me in welcoming Etop Ikpe! Oh, nice to meet you. Finally, it's on my height. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So when, my research team was putting together all the information and the whole thing was building up, and I'm like, who is this guy? First of all, you've done a lot. But what caught my interest, the first thing that caught my interest was when we saw that you were in university and you were running a cinema in Benin. And you were traveling to Benin every weekend to oversee the cinema and come back. Like, who does that now? So I think my first question is, why were you so, because I don't think you're from that kind of house that you didn't give you pocket money. Don't lie. You had pocket money. So why were you so driven and entrepreneurial?
I think, first of all, it was just an opportunity. I think even if you got pocket money, it was never enough, number one. So I think, of course, there's an economic incentive. But I guess for me, it was just like, I felt that there was an opportunity to do something. I could manage the time. To be honest, I can't even think of what exactly drove me. Why did you do this? I just felt that, well, why not? I guess it's more like, why not, right? So we did it, and I mean, it didn't work out as best at it, but I learned a lot of lessons. It was one of the first places that I learned around how to coordinate sort of like outdoor activities. I saw the importance of planning, things like that. So it was a great experience overall.
Interesting. So, I have to ask the question that I'm sure is on everybody's mind. Like, who raises $5 million within their first year of business? Only people like Etop Ikpe. So that's why we're going to ask you. But basically, it's just because a lot of people watch you want to be like you. What are the things that people need to put in place? Okay, so I have this disruptive idea. How do I position the business and the idea to make sure these people can, invest? Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if you kind of look at sort of the, you said from university I've been doing a lot of things. I think that has given me the opportunity to learn very early. Because I think a lot of things that I know now, people will, if you start doing, it's all about time. If you start doing it now, you eventually know it's nothing really special. So along the line, I would say my networks basically helped me understand. It's not like, because I did it in first year, but I've also failed in the past. There was a period in which I was trying to raise capital over a 3 to 4 month period. I sent emails to about 4,000 different investment companies, and I never got a response. So I know what it is like to actually seek investment, push hardly, send emails, make calls, and nobody answers. But that teaches you basically how to position you. So I'm just trying to say that it's not like I haven't tried in the past, I haven't failed. I've just learned over time.
So this is also one thing to learn from your failure.
Yeah.
So what did you now do right to command that in year one? Exactly.
So I think first thing is that I learned that, one, don't look for money when you need money. Start looking for, what I mean is basically, don't wait. Most times people wait to a point where they're either running out of cash or the business is about to die. I mean, if you go to somebody and you're sweating and you're under pressure and you say, please, I need money, the person is wondering what's...
You're desperate.
Yeah, you're desperate. And anytime you're in a desperate position, so you have to realize that as much as fundraising is a financial act, it's also like a dating game as well. Where, of course, if you look too desperate and you're trying to date someone, when desperation, it's always the turn of the same thing. So investors they want to see confidence, they want to see you're in control. And one of the things I learned was when you start out a business, that is the time to start engaging people who will potentially invest. Because it's also good to go to someone and say, hey, this is my business plans, this is what I'm doing. I don't need your money now. So that's something that a lot of people are very, it's a different tactic where you go to someone and say, this is what I'm doing.
But don't give me money yet.
Yeah, don't give me money yet. Everybody, because you're not just going to go with your initial idea, you have to have some kind of basis. So one of the things you learn to do is carry the people along who will potentially invest in your business early on, right? So one is that they can track, because what they need to see is how has this business transitioned over time? But what's the best way? Is when you're starting that they are part of that story. So by the time you bring it up with them, they are very comfortable with the business. They see what you're doing on a day-to-day. But people tend to think that if you take it to them, maybe someone will see, but carry them along from day one. So that was something I did early. I tried as much as possible to gather the people. So they were really part of the story. So for me, I even got the advice to say, look, this is around when I think I would need investment. What would you need to see from this business to make you comfortable in investing in this business? And they gave me feedback, And I ensure that, and I still do it to today. I try as much as possible to meet as many people. There are some funds that you make, they say, oh, you're too small right now for us to invest in. Some are saying they're too big. You never stop. Always network, always interact with people, and ensure that, you have the conversations, you learn what you need to do, how best to position yourself. So I think I would say that's largely most of what I did. Another thing as well, I think, is that try as much as possible. Nobody, if you are going to invest in something, right? If you have 1 million naira today, or you have 500,000 naira today, and this is the only 500,000 naira you have, you would want something that is a guaranteed return. So I think another thing is that people always assume that somehow money is in the air and it's for free. No, if you understand, most funds that you get investment from are actually people's pensions funds.
Yeah.
You understand? People that put investments such as yourself, the investment arms carry it and go and look for businesses that they can invest in. So at the end of the day, they need a return.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you have to have is a viable business plan.
Yeah.
So you have to do your research. You have to be able to ensure that. And then most importantly, if you say your business will do, if you say you have 10 customers, try and ensure at least you have 9.8 customers. You cannot say, I said I'll have 10, but I have 3. And then you say, okay, I want to collect investment so that I said 10, but I did 3. But if you give me the money, I will make it 10.
Yeah.
If you said 10 and you did 3, if I give you the money, how am I sure? So it's also, you must elude confidence in what you propose. So I always tell some people go to look for investment and I say, better plan low.
Yeah.
And surprise them. If you think you can do 10, tell them 5, come back with 7. Let them be impressed.
Yes.
And that's typically my advice.
Okay, so from what you've said, it's obvious you had your projections and all of that in place. I mean, for you to have been able to tell people, hey, I don't need your money and all of that. But with what you do, it's not a business that was common in Nigeria already. You more or less came to disrupt culture around buying and selling used cars. So what fed your projections? Is it that was this you being optimistic or just coming up with some strategy or based on your experience saying, if I do this, I'm going to get that? Like, where did you get that confidence from that I was going to get people to sell and buy online and it will work?
So, I mean, one is that, just like any business, you have to have a supply and demand for a product.
Okay.
You must know where you're going to get your customer. It's nothing. What people want to see is, how do you actually plan to get customers? For me, one thing I always say is, whether we exist or not, cars will always be traded in the country. Whether Cars 45 is here, whether Cars 45 doesn't go. We did not start the business of trading cars. Neither, if we exist or not, people will always trade. What we actually are not doing, and I like to use the term enable, we really are not disrupting, because the industry actually will continue to thrive.
Yeah.
And we try to enable the industry. So for us, but for me particularly, I think that, it was really understanding, if we want to do this, where do we think customers will come from? to sell cars, and where do we think customers will buy from? And you know, a lot of people see the platform today, but I started with WhatsApp. You understand?
Okay.
Yes, I started going on Twitter, looking at people that will post their cars, going on Facebook, looking at people that will post their cars, and I will call. Hello, you posted your car. I would like to buy this car. How much? This is how much I can offer you. How much are you selling this car for? I would go, we would look for dealers and ask. If I bring a car to you, I'm able to negotiate, I'm able to identify, I'm able to verify this car, and I'll give you a guarantee that if you buy this car from me, no police, nothing can happen to you, no issues, I'll give you an inspection. But of course, no problem, bring. So I was able to look at the market and tell
You've
that.
done that
yes,
under the radar
of course,
for
you
a
must
while.
do that. I mean, we operated quite effectively. These are the things that I said. From this stage was when I was beginning to talk to investors. From this stage was when I started talking to investors.
Would you say, would every business, because I see that you started this company with investors in mind, what would you have done if you didn't get investment?
Well,
How would you have been able to scale?
the truth of the matter is that I knew very clearly that, you know, so there are two scenarios. One was that I knew what the size of the market was going to be. I saw that it was a very large market. I saw that what we were going to do, one of the reasons why we had to move very fast was competition. So I knew that if we did not move very fast,
Okay.
we would have a lot of competition.
And then they'll just...
Exactly.
overshadow.
So one of the reasons why, so from day one, and that was exactly my pitch to a lot of investors, was that the reason why I'm trying to do this much quicker
Speed.
is speed. We needed the speed. We needed to go to market very quickly. So because I was very clear on that, right? And I mean, if you apply it to what anything that anybody is doing today, if you have a novel idea, you must also think about how you protect your idea and how you grow market share. Reality is that, so I also knew very clearly what was going to be needed, but that's why I said I got their input. Some people said, I don't think this thing, some people said, well, if you can do this and this and this, I'm interested in.
What's your take? Does every kind of business need such investment? Would you recommend that every serious entrepreneur explores the route you've taken?
I think investment in one way or another is necessary. I think the most important thing
External, third party, of course.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that, do you want to be a big business or a small business? I think in reality, whether we like it or not, every business gets investment in one way or the other. Unfortunately, in the country that we live in, not every type of investment is an investment that most people can show publicly and say, I actually received the investment. That's what I think is a big difference. A lot of people kind of get money into that. Yes, it's not structured. Also, some of it is hidden. Because some people, the sources in which they get investment are not things that they might be able to say. That's the reality of the country that we live in. So I think in one way or the other, everybody gets investment.
I like that.
If you're unable to get structured investment, you get unstructured investment. If you're unable to get a bank loan, you get a personal loan. I think the difference with more structured investment is that it opens you up to, you don't have the luxury to do as you want. You must have corporate governance, and some people fear that. I like that, actually.
Okay.
Because when I think about building this business, I'm not building a business that, I want to build a business that would outlive me.
I'll leave you.
I want to build a business that when I'm old, will pay my pension. I want to build a business that if I'm not available, will take care of my family. That's the way I see it. That anything I'm doing today should, if I'm going to invest all this time and energy in it, this thing should be the thing that will, if when I'm gone, will create a legacy for my people. So the biggest challenge with most businesses that you build today, what is going to carry that business forward is the structure you create today.
I hear you. Etop for president. He has said it. If you want speed, if you want growth, if you want, the accountability that will make you grow, maybe you should get some structured investment. When we return, we'll still be speaking with Etop. See you when I get back. Welcome back to the show, and you're still watching Binging With Gamechangers. Don't forget to join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the BWG Yes, I want to hear from you. And we're still speaking with Etop. Yes, I'm enjoying this chat. Etop, man, I respect you. Once again, another thing that caught my eye when we were researching you, you actually ran a fashion business for several years. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, why? And I think it was beautiful that you actually sold the business off. Oh, wow. Why did you leave? Because fashion is actually really lucrative. I own a jewelry brand, I own a fashion brand, so I think I know what the numbers are like. So why and would you be coming back? Why did you leave and do you plan to come back?
So, I mean, I left because, I mean, it's something I enjoy. Actually, exactly what you said. If you understand how the business works, it's a very good
It's
business.
sweet, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I left because I can come back, I guess.
What an answer. It's not your fault. I will set up a union that would ban people that left from coming back. But hey, I hear you
Exactly.
though.
So really, for me at the time, I think the opportunity to try. Okay, so we're an online business at the time. We had built it. It was organic. It was very early in what you call e-commerce in Nigeria, and then, you know, the game started changing. All the big money started coming in, and I knew that if we were no one, I'm not the kind. I don't want to carry last. Let me put it that way.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not the
like
kind of
to
person that
be
wants to
top.
be. Yeah. So I realized that the industry was changing. I guess when the opportunity came, I had two options. I thought about two things in my mind. One is that I could continue running this business. There are two things that would happen. I would remain small, which is not bad. Maybe at some point in time, we'll become irrelevant and I'll shut the business down. Or I can actually get something out of this business today and move on. And I guess for me, it was a very weird situation because I had never really thought about, you know, something that you had passion and things like that. But I guess one thing that helped me separate a business from a brand. And so I was lucky enough to actually be able to, and I think for me it was like, wow, so you mean this thing I was doing, someone is actually willing to pay?
Yeah, so
For it.
what exactly were you doing? What was your selling point when you were selling that fashion?
So one was that what the person paid for was my knowledge of the industry, of the internet. How are you
fashion
Yeah,
crowd
not just
you
fashion,
had,
no,
yeah?
but the fact that we could transact online, right? People would go on a website. I mean, this is pre-Jumia, pre-Konga, pre all these
Yeah,
brands.
yeah.
There was nothing there.
And they're shopping
And people would
fashion
come to
from
our
you.
websites, they would check for things, they would buy, we would have it delivered. You know, I tell people that when I went to, the first time, now you see a lot of dispatch riders moving up and down. In fact, you have dispatch rider businesses. I remember first going to look for a dispatch rider. There was none in Lagos. There was not one
Wow.
dispatch rider at the time. So I remember going to UPS. I spoke to like 40 different dispatch riders, you know, about who would come. And everybody thought I was crazy. It's like, I should come and do what? Delivery? Are you crazy? What are you talking about? You know, and eventually narrowing it down to one guy who basically said, you know what? You seem crazy, but let's go. Let's go and do this thing. And that's how early it was. That's how. So for them, you know, it's difficult for a lot of people to connect with it now. But just imagine, like, you think that there's nothing in the market, but you come and then you discover that, but there are these guys who are doing this thing and they're actually doing it quite well. So that was really what I think they were.
I see that you've always had your eye on tech, like, and you've always known that this thing is gold. What are Nigerians not yet doing online? I know you say, okay, Seyi, maybe I want to do it, but let's talk about maybe the ones
No,
you
no, I
never
would share,
find.
I would share ideas.
Yeah,
I would always share
because
ideas.
I see that you have some people are gifted with that thing of they just see the future. I don't know, but I have few friends like that. They just know that in a few years this will happen. Where do you see this internet boom taking us to?
So I think clearly, like, whatever you're doing now, if you assume that it's not going to go digital, you're only joking, right? If you assume that there's not going to be consumption of whatever it is, as you know, if you assume that TV, whatever is not going to be consumed online, your joke is about understanding when will that lift happen, right? Sometimes it's too early for some people, sometimes it's too late. But will the world move? Yes. Will it get to a point where every single person has a phone? Yes. What the main thing technology does is just amplify your ability to reach people.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all. So if you have information today, what it's done is that it's connected people in such a way whereby if it took you 1 year to reach people, you can do it in 1 day.
I agree.
You know, and if you look at sort of the trends that are happening now, you see people that start on social media, comedians starting on social media,
And before you know
within boom, and then they transition to mainstream.
Yeah.
But that's the power of technology. Those are people that are leveraging social media to scale. So I think, and that's what I just realized, that whatever you're doing, like for instance, we in terms of what we're doing with fashion, we had a choice. We had one store. One store can only sell a certain amount of things. So we couldn't afford to open. In fact, we didn't even have a store. When we first started, we didn't have a store. we had, the option was take your money and open a store, or take your money and buy stock and go online so that people can go. And I said, okay, let's go online.
Okay.
You know, that's the thing. So if I did a store, I wouldn't have clothes for people to come to.
Yeah.
But I was able to invest in the items.
And it worked.
And it worked. So,
and it worked. Mr. Tech, I reckon you manage your team of 350 people via tech, right?
So tech can only get you so far.
Now we've caught him. So how do you manage
well,
that?
If you allow, I mean, one of the things is these days, I think it's easy with WhatsApp. A lot of communications that we use happen over WhatsApp, happen over what's it called, Slack. You know, it makes life easy. So it's tech. So for instance, there are so many subgroups in the company. Some I'm part of, some I'm not part of. Reports can easily be sent. Real-time assessments. Like for instance, we have a management group. Someone can go outside real-time, spot something, take a picture, send it back. Quickly, people are actually...
Yeah, so it's still tech, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so, you know...
But definitely there's the soft side to things. Like, okay, this stuff, like, what have you deployed? Tell us, before we run off, 3 things to, you know, aside from tech, you know, manage that army. That's a lot of people.
So I think number 1 is that you need a good team. So I think your hiring process has to be very key. People shouldn't play around with it. Your team, you can only do so much. So it's really around the team. 2 is the culture you build within the organization. As the leader of an organization, you are what people will do. You cannot do something and expect people to do another thing. So I try to create as much as possible, create a transparent system, try to eliminate politics as much as possible. You have to recognize that you are a young organization, so you cannot afford the bureaucracy that exists in other organizations that have grown. And your own organization, information must flow, people must feel comfortable, and they must have ownership. So, for instance, if people in your organization cannot feel as if this is a place I can grow in, I can develop in, I feel like I want to be part of, you can't make anything as a startup, because you can't have a situation whereby people are coming at 9, closing at 5, like a regular large-scale organization. Here, people have to do the extra. How are you going to compete with those there if you don't do extra? You understand? Mm-hmm. So everybody in the organization must kind of work like that. You don't get people to work extra by just being employees. They must be parts and parcel of it.
So Etop, did you just say that it's wrong to start at 9 and close at 5?
I think that you don't start at 9, you don't close at 5.
Oh, well, I mean, I might go home at 5 and continue
at
home.
Your mind is working, your brain is working. So it's not about being in the office. It's about the mind working.
Adding value.
It's about people not shutting down. It's about, you know, on Sunday, somebody is in church and they send a message to somebody saying, I just had this great idea.
And I should respond while I'm in church.
Sometimes you respond. No, seriously, it's an inspiration. Sometimes people will tell us that, I just got to this wedding. I've had people at their weddings. It's not, that's what I'm saying, it's not, they're not doing it, they're not working.
Yeah,
they're just inspired, they're passionate. Yeah. So at that point in time, everything and every time, nothing stops. We go around the clock. And that, when you create an environment whereby, because at the end of the day, you want to be creative. Everybody, the program here is about creativity. Once you give people an opportunity to birth things that they have in them, you understand? There's nothing like that. That's what human beings were meant to do. We're meant to be creative individuals.
So that spurs commitment, passion.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's major. Thank you so much for coming on the show.